Here's what's coming up on today's edition of Airborne. The loss of aviation jobs is a tough call for the White House. It's Beechcraft now, fresh out of bankruptcy. And could mistaken connections be the Dreamliner's problem? Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. The president's press secretary said Wednesday that the potential loss of middle-class manufacturing jobs in places like Wichita, where bizjets are built, is a difficult choice that has to be made to preserve jobs for teachers or the national defense. And the remarks, not surprisingly, drew the ire of GAMA. Politico reports that during a press briefing Wednesday at the White House, Jay Carney said that, quote, making choices about budgets and deficit reductions always involves difficult choices, end quote, in a response to a question about what he would say to middle-class union workers in places like Wichita and Everett, Washington. In an interview with television station KAKE, the president tried to soften that language, saying that he wants to give tax breaks to, quote, all the aviation companies in Kansas, end quote, to keep the manufacturing in the U.S., but added that in his view, people who could afford to buy a corporate jet don't need an extra tax break. Quote, especially at a time when we're trying to reduce the deficit, something's gotta give, end quote. In a statement, GAMA president and CEO Pete Bunce blasted Carney's remarks and called for an apology from the press secretary, saying, quote, how dare Jay Carney dismiss the value of aviation manufacturing workers in this country? They are not special interests, but hardworking folks that provide for their families, pay taxes, work to make schools better in their communities, and make charitable contributions in so many ways. Mr. Carney should apologize, and this administration should stop the sound bites and political games and focus on fixing our economy, end quote. Beechcraft, formerly Hawker Beechcraft, announced Tuesday it has formally emerged from the Chapter 11 process. The company's Joint Plan of Reorganization was approved by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court and became effective on February 15, 2013. Beechcraft's product portfolio includes the King Air family of the 350i, 250, and G90 GTX. The worldwide fleet of more than 7,000 King Air turboprops serves a wide variety of missions and has amassed more than 50 million flight hours while operating in 115 countries around the world. Its piston engine Bonanza G36 and Baron G58 twin continue to represent the pinnacle of high-performance six-passenger capability for their class. The company's defense products include the proven T-6 military trainer that touts a worldwide fleet of nearly 800 aircraft and more than 2.1 million flight hours, along with the newly introduced multi-role AT-6 for the light attack mission. The company's global customer support team and its factory-owned service center network, Hawker Beechcraft Services, will continue to support all Hawker and Beechcraft products. The network includes 10 facilities in the United States, Mexico, and the United Kingdom, along with more than 90 authorized service centers around the world. The Japanese Transport Ministry said Wednesday that a battery in the auxiliary power unit aboard an ANA Dreamliner, which was forced to make an emergency landing on January 16th, was incorrectly connected to the main battery that overheated. But they have not said definitely that the miswiring was the cause of the failure. Investigators said that the plane's flickering wing and tail lights after landing, coupled with the fact that the battery was switched off, led them to conclude that the miswiring was allowing current to travel from the APU to the battery in an irregular manner. The Associated Press reports that the JTSB said that it still needs to conduct further tests before it is ready to say why the main battery overheated and started smoldering, prompting the emergency landing. Meanwhile, Boeing is starting to feel the pinch of the worldwide grounding of its newest airliners. Reuters reports that Wall Street is casting an ever more wary eye at the company as the grounding drags on. The inability to deliver the airplanes that are coming off the line is costing the company some $200 million per month, and the plane maker will also incur extra cost as it works on a permanent fix to the battery problem. Boeing, however, holds that it is still too early to determine what effect the 787 grounding will have on its 2013 bottom line. The Indian Defense Ministry has given AgustaWestland a short 7-day deadline for an explanation as to why a helicopter contract should not be canceled. The company is embroiled in a bribery scandal that resulted in the arrest of Finmeccanica CEO Giuseppe Orsi on February 12th. The company is accused of corruption, tax fraud, and making illegal payments in connection with the sale of 12 AW101 helicopters to India. 3 have already been delivered, according to Bloomberg News. Finmeccanica is Italy's largest defense contractor. The company acknowledged that the New Delhi government has asked for an explanation of the deal, but denies that it is a cancellation of the contract. Analysts in India say that if the helicopter deal collapses, it could have a ripple effect on other contracts between Finmeccanica and the New Delhi government. One indicated that blacklisting Finmeccanica can't be ruled out. In a separate release, the Finmeccanica board said that the company denies any wrongdoing in securing the contract over competing helicopters from the U.S. and Russia.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or a podcast, drop us an email to news-by@aero-news.net. Pipistrel's Greek distributor, Mikhail Anastasiou, recently flew a Taurus motor glider to an altitude of 6,927 meters, or 22,726 feet, which is near the world record for a two-place ultralight and the highest that a Taurus has ever flown. Anastasiou and his co-pilot, identified only as Thanos, took advantage of mountain wave conditions common in Greece this time of year to reach the near-record altitude, which did set a record for the Taurus airplane. Anastasiou writes on the Pipistrel blog, quote, "The winds are constant at 85 kilometers per hour. Using the CU history, we locate the sweet spot of the wave and return to it. It gave us a few extra meters. Finally, the Taurus is sitting at 6,841 meters. After landing," Anastasiou writes, quote, "I ran to fetch my computer to analyze the flight. The final altitude reached was 6,927 meters. 2nd of February 2013 was a really good day for us," end quote. The FAA has approved the FlyThisSim Touch Trainer Flight Simulator as a basic aviation training device for Diamond DA-20, Diamond DA-40, and Diamond DA-42 aircraft. The DA-20 simulation has twin GNS 430 simulation and an analog instrumentation. The DA-40 and 42 have G1000 avionics simulated. Touch trainers use touchscreen technology for many of the controls and avionics, while providing unmatched versatility in the then simulation of different aircraft and configurations. In one turnkey package, a touch trainer provides accurate simulation of performance, systems, and avionics enabling aircraft-specific instrument and procedure training, for both students and experienced pilots. FAA approval means the time flying the touch trainer can be logged toward a private or instrument rating and towards maintaining instrument currency. Flight test trials of the Thales iMaster radar system has been successfully completed aboard a Scheibel Camcopter S-100 UAS. The flight trials on Camcopter S-100 took place on February 7, 2013 at the Scheibel Test Facility in Wiener Neustadt, Austria. The flights, each lasting several hours, successfully provided both sensor performance and the stability of data transfer between radar operator and the airborne iMaster. Eddie Owang, Vice President of Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance at Thales UK, said, quote, "This trial, conducted in partnership with Scheibel, provided excellent GMTI and SAR results. It shows that iMaster can operate successfully on this VTOL UAV, meeting the specific challenges of unmanned platforms without interference or operational impact," end quote. The Camcopter S-100, equipped with the iMaster, provides high-fidelity imagery for classification and positioning of various targets through 360 degrees and can accurately detect and locate moving targets from fast-moving vehicles to individuals at walking pace. This provides an effective asset in operations such as homeland security, border surveillance, pipeline security, and incident management. It's Friday and time for ANN's Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell's Barnstorming Commentary.
Thanks, Ashley, and hi, folks. Had an interesting set of events occur over the last few days. We engaged in some open on and off the record dialogue with Jack Pelton at EAA, who told us what was happening there with the transition they've been making post Hightower and as they try to configure EAA for the future. No time was there a question about whether or not they would answer questions. At no time did Jack evade. At no time did Jack indicate that he wasn't willing to answer questions if he had the answers to them at the time. It was an open and honest dialogue. A few days prior to that, however, I had asked Katie Pribble, the new communications arm for AOPA, a number of questions about the status of Craig Fuller's employment contract, his status as leader of AOPA and so forth, and was basically told to buzz off. That if I was talking to people about that they'd be happy to talk to the people I was talking to, but not to me. That they were welcome to contact them directly. It is our duty to ask questions, to question authority, and at all times to just kind of keep an open mind, if a critical one, to the events that concern the readership and clientele that we deal with. It's about the future of AOPA, the quality of the current leadership, where AOPA is going. We've talked to you about the number of conflicts that AOPA has created by deciding to compete with businesses and operations that in fact were owned by contributors, members, and pivotal persons within the aviation community, folks who at one point or another seem to be important to AOPA. We learned of another one recently where AOPA was looking at getting into the aviation auction business, which makes about a half a dozen different businesses that AOPA was thinking of getting into, all of whom have companies, personnel, and people working in those areas right now and really don't need to compete with a 600-pound gorilla that has no need to make a profit and is supported by member dollars and has none of the restrictions and real-world problems that those businesses have. So it comes down to this. Is Craig Fuller an effective leader for AOPA? Is AOPA demonstrating the mission, the direction, and the leadership that aviation and this organization so desperately needs? And more important, why aren't these questions being asked in the open? Why isn't there a dialogue? As I understand it, Craig serves at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees. Well, the Board of Trustees are a bunch of folks that most of you have never heard of. There's a few folks that I know and have met, and one or two that actually seem to be okay folks. But they're not interested in talking to you. They're not interested in talking to me. And AOPA is no longer a transparent, open, and to a certain extent, honest organization. Honesty requires dialogue. There is no dialogue, or at least certainly a significant lessening of that. So what we want to see and what we're asking for right now is this. Let's look at AOPA's leadership. Let's look at the quality. Let's look at the mission. Let's look at the direction. But more important than anything else, let's define whether or not the current mission and the current leadership of AOPA can properly carry it into the future. And if it can't, find leadership and a direction that can, but to do so openly, honestly, and most importantly, ethically, with a strong eye on our future. A future that needs to be specifically directed to the best interests of us all. What do you think? For the Aero-News Network, Aero-TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell, stirring up dust as usual.
Time is fast ticking down to a date the entire ANA staff looks forward to every year. See, each April 1st, we have a problem getting our stories straight. We make things up, we get silly, and we exaggerate. Rest assured, we already have some doozies in the can for April 1st, but we wanted to give our viewers your chance to submit ideas. But first, we ask you and our sponsors to keep in mind we only lampoon the ones we love. Also, please note that all stories posted Monday, April 1st that are not labeled specifically as real news should be read with your funny bone in gear. Your suggestion for worthwhile April 1st topics and story ideas are always welcome, so drop a note to editor@aero-news.net and start counting down the days on your calendar until 12 a.m. on Monday, April 1st. Well, that's our program for Friday, February 22nd. Remember, you can get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.